Good morning, everyone doing today. God is good and God is good all the time. He allowed me to see another birthday. Happy birthday to myself. So today in New Orleans, it's pre-voting day today. October the 14th, right on my birthday. So anyone who wants to vote, come out and vote today, you can do so. Um it's very important that everyone age of 18 on up, come out and vote. Just pre-voting right now. You still have the real vote next year, but you want to do pre-voting is today. Today. So we will not increase, the voting age. We're gonna keep the voting age to 18 on up. So we need a huge number. We need a huge number for next year. That's why you want to do the pre voting today. That is good because we need a huge number um of votes. For election for 2024. Now, as a voter, you will help decide, who would lead the world. You know, you make your voice heard, on important issues that affect the future of our state, the nation. Because you're not only just voting for a president, you voting for anybody that's SNC vote, Supreme Court, Councilman, anyone, the mayor, the government, anybody that's in power, you able to vote on that person who you want and see. It don't mean, they're gonna get a seat. That's why we need all votes to come together to have the right person in seat. So uh every time you use your rights, to vote, you make a difference in democracy, that grows stronger, grows stronger each and every day if we come together. You know, the way everything is going right now, this is a time we all need to stick together and stop fighting and bickering of one another. You know, uh, Today, citizen over the age 18 cannot be denied, you know, the right to vote on the basis of race, religious, sex, or disability. If you disabled, you know, you got a cane or you in a wheelchair, you still go to that voting booth and vote. You know, every state a citizen must register, to vote in your district. So this is a time if you need any information to be updated, update your information. If you're in a move, have a new address, or you have a new phone number, it's good to try to update it right now. Even if you can't make it to pre-voting, because your information, you still have time to update your information for next year. So uh, so if you need to register for vote, if you have someone that's 18 years old and never registered, this is the time for you to register to vote. You know, the register vote, you're gonna need to update. You're gonna need your driving license or a ID. You know, or if you are immigrant or somebody from out of state and you want to vote down here in New Orleans, all you need is your green card or ID. If you out of country like an immigrant, you still allowed to vote if you have your information that you need, your green card and your ID. Register in your district. You have a little white card they will give you. They'll have your location on it, the district location on it, where you go and vote. So pay attention of your district. That's why I've been fighting so hard for y'all to be on a map in a district, because it's all about a district for you to vote. You're gonna give you a white card, with your name in a location where you have to go and vote. So three, update all your information. If everything changed, you done move to another location, mean you got to go to another district. That's what I'm saying. All voting is based on the district that you are in. Because you try to go somewhere else to vote, they ain't gonna do nothing but send you back to the district of where your address is located at. So that's why it's very important, if you change your address, you have to change your information also, because you have to vote in that district. Okay, so the person that you want to vote for, we already know about the president. Whatever president you want to vote for. But what about the other? It goes for the presidential, you know, the congressman, the government, and stuff like that. You can follow them. You can start watching on the news. Start paying attention of the people that you want to vote for. So you can make sure in your heart that you picking the right person. So 5, 18 years on up. You know, if you're 18 years old and you have not registered, this is the time for you to register. You're gonna need your ID. If you live with your parents, you're gonna need your parents' address, because they're gonna send you to the district according to your address. So 6, race, religion, disability, you all have the right to vote. No one should be denied. So just have your ID, your driving license, or in your address. It's all about your address. So if the machine if the machine that you own, it seemed like it been tampered with, and you study hitting it, but somebody else is already in that slot, you know, you let the clerk know, that the machine already have certain person in that machine already. I went through that. So you got to let the clerk know, so the clerk can put you at another machine that they don't have nobody name is still stuck in there. So these are the tools I'm letting you know when you go to the poll. You have to pay attention to these things. So um I request that you're 18 years old on up. 18 years on up. It's not denied to vote. You know, we're not gonna boost it. We'll try to boost the age up to 25. No, we're gonna keep the age at 18 years old, because we need big numbers. And if you're 18 years old, you know who you want to vote for. You should be mature in your mind at 18 years old to know who you want to vote for. You don't have to wait till you're 25 years old. You can do this at 18 years old. So um, so I request that African American race, disability, anyone that's in that state is a citizen have the right to vote. All citizens, you must register now in your district. This is the best time to register now in your district. Get all this done right now. This is pre-season right now. But you need all this here for the real election next year. So that's on voting. Remember, in New Orleans, the pre-voting is today. You know, um, so I do have a word for you on today. Aeneas and Doris. That is it's gonna come from Acts, and this dealing with Peter. Paul gonna be in here somewhere else, but this pretty much Peter's story. We still gonna be stuck on Paul. We gonna do Paul until all the way to the end of Paul days. So as Peter traveled, about the country, he went to visit the Lord people who was in Lydia. Lydia is a city. So Peter had went off on a mission, to visit, because Peter is Jesus' disciple, the one who denied Jesus, but he turned out, you know, I'm gonna be putting a package out about him too after we finish with Paul, because Jesus had forgive him, and he and Jesus, it was like and nothing happened, and Peter turned out to be a good prophet, you know, and have ministry going on, doing just like Paul doing, you know. going off on a mission, to visit all the churches, So in the course of his travel, he arrived in Lydia, the city, and met with believers. He met with all the believers, So there he found a man named Aeneas. Now, Aeneas is the man that's paralyzed, who was paralyzed. He had been in bed, writing for 8 years. Now he been in the bed, so that means he got back sores and everything else from just lying in that bed paralyzed. And no, they used to just roll him around. You remember Jesus had healed him once before. You remember, and Jesus they had to put him up on a roof so Jesus can see him and stuff. And then slide him back down. They had to travel with him in the bed, move him around in the bed. Because he was paralyzed and he refused to get out and walk around or move around on his own. So Ernest is this man that's paralyzed. Now he been paralyzed for 8 years. This the same man that Jesus had here, a while back. So I don't he got back paralyzed. I don't know if this is the same man, but he brought Jesus' name up and said Jesus had healed him before. So Peter had traveled, and he had met this man, who was paralyzed. Now Peter had stated that he seen Jesus, that he seen Jesus heal a paralyzed man. See, he said he seen, but we don't know it's just the same man or not. Because when Jesus healed you, you heal. Ain't no such thing, and you're going back to be paralyzed. So he not trying to say it's just the man that Jesus healed. He said he saw Jesus heal a paralyzed man before. You know, uh, the same man that was in the bed. Jesus had healed, but we still don't know it's just the same one. He said he's seen Jesus heal a paralyzed man before. So Annas, Peter had said to him, Jesus Christ healed you. Yeah, well, you know, so Jesus healed him before, and he got paralyzed again. Or he just lazy and being stuck in the bed. So uh, so Peter had said, "Get up." He said, "Get up." He said, "Roll up your mat." He said immediately Agnes had got up. I think he just got back lazy and just didn't want to do for himself because Peter told him to get up and he got up. So now Peter perceived a miracle. All the result of this town had turned to the law. A lot of people had got saved. Once Peter, because this man had been paralyzed for 8 years. He been paralyzed for 8 years, in laying in the bed. So now all these believers, was saying, remember Peter visited the church with all the believers. Now all the believers see that Peter had did a miracle. They know this man been paralyzed for 8 years. And it's the same man that Jesus paralyzed that was in the bed paralyzed the same way. So they see the result. That this man got up and just started walking. And so they turned to the Lord. So they turned to God and they got saved. So all those who live in Lydia, in Sharon is a city too, saw him and they turned to the Lord. So these are the people that was in these two cities right here where Peter was at and told them a paralyzed man to get up. So this man got up. They saw him and they turned to the Lord. They saw what Peter did. And they turned to God and got saved. So Peter is in the town of Lydia, 25 miles northwest of Jerusalem. So in the name of Jesus, he was here. A man there named Aeneas who had been confined to bed with being paralyzed for 8 years. That's a long time. I got to read on the last time he was paralyzed and Jesus had healed him. I got to find out how long he was paralyzed then. So how he got paralyzed a second time. Because Peter said, I saw Jesus heal you. So he trying to figure out what's wrong. And all Peter said, get up. So that means this man just was lazy and he wanted to continue on laying in that bed after Jesus healed him. Because all Peter had told him to get up, roll off to that man. And he got up. So he was paralyzed for 8 years. So the people are living and sharing. They accept Peter's word. And Jesus in there was all of them was saved. When they saw what Peter had did, they've been seeing this man laying in that bed, for 8 years. Could not walk, or he either refused to walk, because this the same man that was here before. Just the first thing, when I was reading, okay, the man in the bed, and then, and I'm reading that Peter gonna heal this man. And I'm like, well, Jesus healed the man too that was paralyzed in the bed. And come to find out this the same man. So I'm gonna do more research and find out how he got paralyzed a second time. So Sharon's is a plain between the mountain. Literally it's called the Lord in the Old Testament and today. Now it is about 25 miles northwest of Jerusalem. Not too far the Israelite was at. You know, so there was a disciple named Tabitha. Now she was always doing good. So we got two different situations we about to deal with. Now I finished the first situation. When Peter walked in that city, and he know this man was laying in the bed and he was paralyzed for 8 years. So Peter dealt with this situation here. He told the man to get up. He said, ain't you the same man that I saw Jesus had healed you? Okay, so we done with this situation. This is another situation here where this disciple here is Tabitha. She was a good person, always doing good, helping people in the community, sewing and making them clothes and stuff like that, So this woman, anything people needed in the community, she was doing it, so so there a disciple named Tabitha, and she was always full of good work, you know, and acts of charity. And then said none about she was collecting no money and stuff. They just said she loved doing for people. They didn't say none about she collect money from nobody. They said Tabitha good work, including making clothes, for the local widow, like when a woman husband died, that was her responsibility to take care of them. Well, because, they left alone. Their husband gone and they left alone. So it was her responsibility to take care of them. Take care of all the widow, is firmly established in the master law. So it was a law. And she had that position. So she was supposed to take care of all the widow. And she did. She did. She took care of all the widow, make clothes for them. Anything, that needs to be done, that was her responsibility. So about that time, then she becomes sick. So a lot of time, good people that do the good work, become sick. You be like, why? But a lot of time, God will use his good people sometime, to show example, and he get glory out of a situation. So a lot of time, I used to feel the same way, so a lot of times we can't feel that way all the time because we always say good people always suffer. Good people always die. Good people always this and that, but sometimes it's always a reason why God allows certain things to happen. So about that time, she became sick, and she died. Now this is a good woman helping the community. Helping not just only the widow, she was just helping the community. She was sold them to the apes and stuff like that. Sold them all kind of beautiful clothes. I saw the movie, so the clothes it was so pretty. So now she's sick and she died. And her body was washed. So soon as she died, they washed her body. They weren't supposed to wash her body. You're not supposed to touch somebody right then and there because the insurance, well, they ain't had no insurance back then, but still they had a law where they weren't supposed to touch and wash her body so fast. So soon as she died, they took her body and they washed it, and they placed it in an upstairs room. So they did all this here before they buried her. Make sure she was clean, because she was a good person. So they made sure she lay to rest being clean. So whom every wash her among most people, it had been contrary to wash the body before it was buried or burned. See, they weren't supposed to wash it, before burying and burning, none of that. They weren't supposed to touch it or wash it. So they prepared her in a usual manner upstairs room. So you know what it is. They had faith. And since Peter was in the city, you know, they didn't want to accept that she was dead. Okay, we're going to wash her up. We're going to put her in that upper room. We're going to call Peter. We're going to let Peter know. So Peter bring her back to life. She already smelling clean. See, they had faith. They saw what Peter did to this paralyzed man. If Peter can allow a paralyzed man to stand up and start walking, we want to see what he can do to a dead. If he can restore this dead back to life. They didn't want to accept that she was dead. They wash her up and put her in the upper room. They know Peter was still around. They know what Peter had did to this paralyzed man. We want to see what Peter gonna do to this good woman. This was a good woman. She didn't just help the widow. She helped everyone that was in that community. So they didn't want to see it that way. So literally was near Japan, so when the disciple heard, said Peter was in and later, see what I'm saying? They knew Peter was still around. So they sent two men. They sent two men to him, urged him to please come at once. They heard that Peter had did a miracle to this paralyzed man. So we want to see what you're going to do for us, because we're not accepting that this good woman had died. All the widow was around. Everybody in the community was around, because this woman did so much good things to all these people in this community. They're not trying to accept that she's gone. Somebody got to help us on this here. Okay, we gonna wash her up, because we expect for her to raise back up smelling good. So Peter healed a paralyzed man. But in nearby, this paralyzed man, in the respect of a Christian, a woman, Tabitha, had died. This was a good woman. She was a Christian. She had responsibility to taking care of the widow, but she also took care of a lot of people that was in the community. So now this respectful Christian, woman, Tabitha, had died. The disciples from her church have gone out to ask Peter to come. We need you to come. It's very urgent that you come and help us. He gone out to ask Peter to come. So now they heard, how he healed this paralyzed man. This paralyzed man. So they going out to get help for him to help us with this woman, this respectful Christian woman that had died. Even though she is dead, we still want to know, can Peter still help us? This man, this man was paralyzed, and Peter raised this man to the top. Said, stand up. This man started walking. So they want to know, even though she's dead, can you arise her back up to life? So Peter had went to them, and when he arrived, he was taken upstairs. Remember, they put her upstairs, to the room, and all the widows that stood around her, they was crying. They was showing him the robes and the clothes and everything that she made for them. They had it all standing all around her. All the widows was standing around her with the beautiful clothes and stuff that she made while she was still with them. So Peter had got up, he went to them, and when he arrived, they laid him to the room upstairs. Now all the widow had approached him, weeping and showing him the robes and clothes, that she had made while she was with them. So Peter had sent them all out He sent them all out the room because they're crying and boo hoo hoo. He can't concentrate to bring somebody back to dead when he hearing all this noise and all this noise around him. I understand she made you clothes and everything. I understand, but I need all y'all to get on out of here. I need y'all to get on out of here. So then he had got down on his knees and he prayed, turning towards the dead. He got on his knees, he turned towards to that woman, and this woman, he said, Tabitha, get up, and she opened her eyes. And when she opened her eyes, all she saw was Peter. Now, they had other disciples probably was in their room. Everybody else he ran them out. So it was a wonderful thing that she opened her eyes and that was Peter right in front of her eyes. And that's when she sat up. She sat up. So Peter had put them out of the room. He had to put them out of the room to pray, and he had to concentrate. Because guess what? He was talking to God. See, Peter don't have the power. The power come from God. We have to realize God give us gifts and everything, but the gift is not our gift. Our gift only work from when God allowed it to work. So he have a gift, but it can't not work unless it come from God. So he had to get on his knees and he had to concentrate. He has to pray to God. God, I'm about to do a miracle. Could you let your power through me to arise this woman up to the top? We got to get permission from God. That's just like me. I'm a unsolved missing person. I can't just up and just see the missing person. God had to. God in a Holy Spirit have to give me that location of where that person at. How did I can see all that, but I can't do that on my own. So power have to come from God. So Peter had put them out of the room to pray. There's power in prayer, in praying. So he wanted without distraction or interruption. Because remember, excuse me, remember there was all talk, they were all surrounding Peter, talking and crying and weeping because they were showing Peter all the clothes that she made. You know, Peter understand that. Okay, you want me to bring her back alive? I need all y'all to get out of here because I don't need no distraction. I don't need this noise behind me because I need to concentrate to pray to God to get the power. I can't not do this on my own because the power come from God. So and when she opened her eyes, Peter was the first one that she saw. You know, and so he took her by the hand, and helped her to her feet, and then he called for the believers, especially the widows, and represent her to them alive. So we see that Peter made a paralyzed man walk. We see that Peter had a woman was dead and he restored back to life. Took her hand and rise her up to the top. And then he called the believer. Okay, y'all can come back up in here. You come back up in. She's alive. They saw her dead. He put them out so they can say it was fake because they saw her dead. They the one put in the upper room. Okay, y'all get on out of here. And now he told them to come back in. She's alive. So Peter had just raised Tabitha from the dead. And she is a governor. She is a generous. A devotion to Jesus. Now she was one of the women disciples. Remember, Jesus did got some women disciples. Right before his crucifixion, and she was one of the very devoted to Jesus follower from the town of Joppa. So this became known all over that city. And many people had believed in the Lord. They really believed on Peter now. They believe Peter now, and they all wants to turn into God, turn to God. Because he raised the paralyzed man, made him walk. He restored a dead woman back to life. Say, okay, we believe this a man of God right here. We believe it. We want to be saved with your God. So Tabitha made an economic impact on her community. you know. And I saw a lot of this stuff happen in my life, will be in my testimony. It's a testimony that you see someone in great power, but I saw someone a great mighty power, do a whole lot of miracles in my life, bring the dead back to like multiple times. So it's amazing, and so Peter did the same thing, but the power came from God. So she made an impact in her community, by she doing so much. And see, that's what I'm saying. A lot of time God do things for a reason, a reason for him to get glory. Even though Peter did it, but it still was God power through Peter, because God wanted to make an impact in that community, just like he did, and he brought her back to life, to continue on the good work that she was doing. So she made an impact in her community by always doing good, and helping the poor, and making robes and clothes and anything else. And see, God took her away for a moment to have an impact in her community. They respect her, but they're really gonna respect her more, because she made a difference in her community, and so God wanted her to continue on doing what she was doing, but God just had to show His glory. And see, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes God do things for a reason. If it wasn't her time, she wouldn't be able to restore it back. God wouldn't allow Peter to do it. But God took her away for a moment and brought her back because he wanted to show a moment, an impact in her community. So, cause for them to not only respect her, thank you, Holy Spirit, not only just respect her, but know that the power came from God to respect God's rules and continue doing what you're doing, that you're on the right path. So in other clothing for people she knew, so when she had died, the room was filled with talking and murmuring. It was just so much talking and mumbling. There was on this ear talking to Peter. One was on ear because he look what she made for me. Look what she did. She did so much good stuff for all these people. There was happy and crying and mumbling at the same time. How sometimes you can be happy, and sometimes you can be sad at the same time. They were so excited of the clothes that she made for them, but sad and crying and mumbling at the same time that she is gone. I can't believe she gone. Look what she did. I can't believe she done. She is a good woman in our community. Her responsibility was to take care of the widow, but she took care of a lot of people in the community. Not only just the widow. So you had all the widows was there. You had the women's in the community was there. So Peter had stayed in that city for some time, with Japan city for some time. A tangle, named Simon. So now this chapter in, with Peter has stayed at Simon home. The tingle, people accept hospitality for Simon, since the occupation of leather worker. So he end by, after he did the two miracles, he went by Simon home. He went by Simon, he stood there for some time. So a tingle, was considered, to be unclean by the Pharisees. So we see that Peter perceived two miracles. He healed a paralyzed man to walk. Two, he restored a woman back to life. And that was pronounced dead. That was pronounced dead, and they had faith. They had faith knowing that if Peter brought a paralyzed man up to start walking around, we want to see what he can do to this dead woman here. You didn't know she was dead. But they also saw power in miracles that Peter had just performed. So they had faith in God, man of God. And they sent two people out to Peter, to come see about this good woman that had good deed in life. That they couldn't consider that she was dead. They didn't want to accept that she was dead. She did this and she did that. She was a good person that was doing good. And see, God sees the good deed, what someone do. Just like we were talking about that yesterday. You don't have to brag. Trey was talking about that. You don't have to brag about, oh, I'm a Christian. We're religious. You don't have to express that. She never had to express that. Her good deed had expressed everything, and God saw it. And the people respected her, they loved her, but God also want us to put Him first and respect Him. So He had to move her away first for a little while. God had to use His power to bring her back, so they can know that there's a God in heaven that y'all supposed to look up to first and respect Him first. They respected her and loved her, you know, but there was no God in their situation. So God got to put Him in His situation so people can see, okay, that's God. Okay, Peter, we want to get saved by your God. Your God had brought this woman back to life. And see, that's what God wanted. God wanted them to know that is a God, you know, that she doing good deeds, not for herself, from the strength of God. That's a good deed that she's doing, been placed inside of her to do, you know. So that was the story on that. That was a good woman that hadn't died, from doing a good deed. And you wonder how somebody do good deed, how somebody can be so good, how somebody can do this and do that. The good people just be gone. But in this case, God allowed her to be gone just for a little while. Because God seen that they was giving her all the credit, and was not acknowledged God. Because see, we got to acknowledge God. We got to acknowledge God that there's God in heaven. That's power. We don't do things on our own. We do it out the strength of God. The people loved and respected her, but they had no God in it. No speak of God nowhere in the situation. So God gonna always do things, for the making known that okay, this God doing this here. This God doing the work in this woman to do to perceive the good deeds that she's doing. So that's the story on that. Peter did two miracles, in the same city, you know, um, and so both of them succeeded very well. And so we also talk about voting today in New Orleans. It's pre voting. So you want to do the pre voting on today, you can do so. Long as you all your information is updated. And the ones at 18 years old, if you have not registered, this is the best time for you to register to vote. It's the best time. Make sure you have your ID. And any immigrant and anyone out of country is living down here in New Orleans. If you have your green card and your ID, you can also go and register to vote. And you make sure your address has to be correct and has to be updated, because they send you to that district. They're going to give you a white card with your address in the district or your location where you supposed to vote at. That's why it's very important that we was fighting for New Orleans and Alabama and Mississippi for the map and the voting. I mean the district. Because you have to vote in your district. And if you don't have a district and you're not on a map, you cannot vote. We can't have no one sitting out cannot vote because they're not in a district. We want everyone to be in a district so you can be able to vote. So this is good for immigrant. Get yourself, you can register. 18 years old. Get yourself together and register. Anyone else already are registered, but you need yourself updated. You can also do that. Because if you go sign up to vote, and you put in one address, and on your district have another address, you got to get that straightened out because they will not let you vote in that district if you is not registered in that district with the correct address. So that's all I have for you today. Pre voting today in New Orleans. We talk about Peter did two miracles today. So y'all have a blessed and safe day, and I'll see y'all in the next video. And again, happy birthday to me. Have a blessed day.